Hello dear friends, today is September 10th, 2025, and this is our traditional overview of the battlefield map. At the moment, the main changes are happening on the Orikhiv direction, the South Donetsk direction, the Pokrovsk direction, and the Kremmina-Lyman direction. We also have updates from the Kostiantynivka direction, the Kupiansk direction, and there is also news from the Sumy direction, which we'll discuss and review in this video. And before we begin, as always, I would like to sincerely ask you to subscribe to the channel. As you know, your subscription greatly helps the channel grow. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. And now, let's begin with the Kherson direction. Kherson direction. On the Kherson front today, there were 5 strikes recorded in the past 24 hours. Strikes were reported near Kazatskoye, Tyaginka, Tokarevka, Nikolskoye, and Antonovka. Let me remind you, these are strikes from the Russian Air Force, mainly FAB glide bombs and heavy aerial bombs. Ukrainian sources report positional fighting near the settlement of Dachi, as well as attacks on Ukrainian positions near the Antonovsky Bridge. Meanwhile, pro-Russian sources claim Russian forces attacked Ukrainian positions north of Pridneprovskoye. In turn, Ukrainian troops attacked Russian positions near Peshanovka and Zaplava. Here, both sides are actively using FPV drones and artillery. The front line has remained static for several months, with Russian and Ukrainian artillery and drones working daily. Orikhiv direction today, serious developments are reported near Stepnogorsk and also from Malaya Tokmachka. Let's begin with Malaya Tokmachka. Russian troops are trying to advance in the eastern part of this settlement. Earlier, we reported that Russian forces were expanding their control zone north of Rabotino, attempting to clear out this pocket, move toward Novodanilovka, and also approach Malaya Tokmachka from the south. However, Ukrainian FPV drones are working intensively here, preventing the Russians from advancing even inside this pocket, let alone into the eastern outskirts of Malaya Tokmachka. Pro-Ukrainian sources report that Ukrainian troops are actively counterattacking and holding the line. This morning, Ukrainian strikes were also reported against Russian positions near Novopokrovka and to the west of it. For now, the front line here remains unchanged. Stepnogorsk. As you know, yesterday the settlement of Plavny was fully cleared and came under Russian control. This entire zone, now marked in red, has shifted to Russian hands. There were also reports that Russian forces were attempting to secure positions in the southern outskirts of Stepnogorsk, but initially they failed. However, today we have video confirmation from pro-Russian sources showing that Russian troops took control of a residential district. Now it is clear that Russian forces have established themselves in southern Stepnogorsk. From this district, Russian troops are now positioned to attack Ukrainian defenses inside Stepnogorsk itself. The southern part of the town consists mostly of private houses, while the central and northern areas are dominated by apartment blocks. As you know, holding apartment blocks is much easier than defending scattered houses. This suggests Russian troops concentrated their efforts on securing this district first. With it captured, Ukrainian defenses in Stepnogorsk may become significantly weaker. In the coming days, we'll see whether Russian forces advance further or whether the map remains unchanged. Reports also suggest Russian forces attacked Ukrainian positions on the northern outskirts of Stepnogorsk, while Ukrainian troops struck back at Russian positions near Kamenka. But again, we update the map only when there's confirmed evidence. South Donetsk direction. Russian forces are advancing near Berezovo and Novonikolevka. Some sources claim Ternovoy is already under Russian control, but this hasn't been confirmed yet. Possibly in the next 2 or 3 days, we'll see video confirmation and adjust the map. Meanwhile, reports say both Novonikolevka and Berezovo are already under attack. Further north, Russian troops are reportedly moving along Ukrainian fortification lines, gradually taking them under control. On the map, Ukrainian fortifications are marked in yellow. If this is accurate, then Berezovo and Novonikolevka may soon fall under Russian control as well. Yesterday, there were claims that Sosnovka was captured by Russian forces and that fighting continues northwest of it. But again, there has been no confirmed evidence today. So while the situation is clearly developing, we're still waiting for verified video materials before updating the map. Muravka Russian forces have repeatedly tried to take Muravka, which lies in the Donetsk People's Republic. They advanced from Novonikolaevka and from the southern outskirts, but failed to secure the town. Now, new video materials show that Russian troops have entrenched themselves in the eastern outskirts of Muravka, advancing up to 2 kilometers. Fighting is now taking place in the northern part of the settlement. This suggests Muravka may soon fall entirely under Russian control, which would give Russia control of the whole surrounding area. Beyond Muravka lies Novopavlovka, a key stronghold. If Russian forces capture it, they will be able to advance toward Mezhevaya and Andronovka, threatening to cut Ukrainian supply roads into Pokrovsk. In fact, Russian troops already have fire control over both the western and northern supply roads into Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk direction. Here, Russian forces are concentrating on Mirnograd. Reports suggest they are advancing into the northern part of Mirnograd, attempting to hold ground. Some pro-Russian sources claim they have entrenched themselves, but Ukrainian reports insist the Russians were pushed back. There are also claims that Russian forces are active in the southern part of Mirnograd, where sabotage and reconnaissance groups have been sighted. Even pro-Ukrainian sources confirm the presence of Russian DRG units. The truth will become clearer in the coming days. Meanwhile, the only confirmed progress is that Russian troops advanced 1.5 kilometers in this sector. We already discussed this yesterday. North of here, near Novoye Shakovo, new video evidence suggests Russian forces advanced up to 2 kilometers. However, the settlement itself is only 1.5 kilometers long, so the numbers don't quite add up. Nevertheless, the area marked in red has shifted under Russian control. Realistically, the advance here is about 500 meters, not 2 kilometers. Also, in the Kolodets-Rubezhnoye sector, Russian forces are pushing along the flanks near Stepi and Volnoye. Reports also state that Rubezhnoye is fully under Russian control, even though Zolotoy Kolodets remains contested. For now, the only confirmed gains are around Novoye Shakovo. Elsewhere, positional battles continue along the line, Kostiantynivka direction. Here, Russian forces are pressing against Pleshevka, attacking Ukrainian positions and possibly even storming the settlement, though no confirmed progress yet. One confirmed video shows Russian FPV drones destroying a Ukrainian armored vehicle with personnel on board. As for Kyiv, despite earlier claims, including from the Russian Ministry of Defense, the settlement remains under Ukrainian control. Many ask why I sometimes don't trust official MOD statements. The answer is simple. Field commanders often report that a settlement has been captured when in fact it hasn't. The ministry then announces it as a victory, but in reality the situation is different. Right now, Kyiv is likely still contested, perhaps even in a grey zone, but not fully under Russian control. Once we receive video confirmation, we'll update the map accordingly. For now, only positional battles north of Kyiv and near Katerinovka have been reported. Siversk direction. Here, Russian forces came under FPV drone attacks near Serebryanka. At the same time, Russian artillery struck Ukrainian positions near Dronovka. Some sources claim that Russian troops are expanding their zone of control from Serebryanka toward Dronovka. Yesterday we noted that if Russian forces reach Dronovka, they will be able to bring the Siversk supply road under fire control, which would put Ukrainian forces inside Siversk in a very difficult position. The southern supply road is already under direct Russian control. If the western road also comes under fire, Siversk would be completely cut off from supplies. We'll continue to monitor this closely. Now let's move further to the Kremmina-Lyman direction. From the Kremmina-Lyman direction, we received updates today from the settlement of Zarekhnoye. As you know, 2 days ago we saw video footage from these locations, and yesterday more footage came in from this point. There were reports that Zarekhnoye had almost completely come under Russian control. However, Ukrainian sources claimed that Russian troops had been driven out, that the AFU counterattacked and forced them back. But this information does not match reality. This morning, Russian forces released new footage from 2 additional locations, showing Russian flags being raised, confirming control over the northern part of Zarekhnoye. The area marked in red is now fully under Russian control, with advances of up to 1 kilometer. Judging by the developments, the southern part may also already be under Russian control. So we can confidently say that Ukrainian claims of holding Zhytomyr and driving Russian forces out are not true. We only update the map once confirmed footage is available, and today we have that confirmation. As for Chandrigolovo, pro-Russian sources report that most of the settlement is under Russian control, with fighting ongoing on the western outskirts. However, we haven't yet received visual confirmation. Until that arrives, the map remains unchanged. Still, reports indicate positional fighting is ongoing around Zhytomyr and Chandrigolovo. Now, let's move on to the Kupiansk direction. Here, no confirmed changes were recorded today. Pro-Ukrainian outlets claim that Russian troops holding this sector were destroyed or pushed back. But similar claims were made about Zhytomyr, and we now know those were false. So this might be the same case here. The last confirmed footage from pro-Russian sources showed a Russian soldier calmly standing with a flag at this location, which we marked as under Russian control. There are also reports that Russian forces are moving toward the industrial zone here, but no visual proof yet. Until confirmation arrives, we will not update the map. Still, incoming reports suggest extremely heavy house-to-house fighting, much like what we saw earlier in Yunukovka. The area has many high-rise buildings, which are currently being stormed. If Russian troops secure them, it will be easier to advance through the private sector further west, unless the AFU manages to counterattack and push them out. That's the situation here for now. Let's move on further along the map. Next, we turn to Volchansk. Daily updates continue from this sector, reporting fierce battles without major changes to the front line. Both Russian and Ukrainian FPV drones are operating constantly, striking each other's positions. There was also a Russian airstrike in this area, targeting an AFU temporary deployment site with FAB bombs. Additionally, there are reports that Russian troops are advancing through the forest west of Volchansk. How successful these actions are remains unclear for now. To remind you, the front line here runs along the Siversk Donetsk River. Neither side has managed to push significantly across it. Volchansk itself lies in ruins, and the sky is filled with drones. On the Liptsi direction, reports today indicate attacks on Russian positions near the settlement of Glubokoye. In response, Russian forces struck AFU positions in Liptsi itself. As usual here, FPV duels take place daily, but no frontline shifts have been recorded for several months. Neither side is making progress. Now, let's move on to the Sumy direction. Here, Yunukovka is now almost entirely under Russian control. Reports indicate Russian forces are expanding toward Mariino and also moving toward the settlement of Sadki. In the forested areas near Sadki, the AFU has established many fortified positions, which Russian troops are now storming. There were reports of positional battles inside this forest, and Russian sources claim part of it is already secured. If Russian forces manage to hold the forest, it will be very difficult to dislodge them. Regarding Alexeyevka, yesterday, Ukrainian troops launched an assault here. We received video from this sector showing AFU forward units advancing about 1.5 kilometers, with the area marked in yellow switching under their control. However, Alexeyevka itself remains fully under Russian control. Additionally, Russian forces struck AFU positions near Andreyevka, targeting reserves and temporary deployment points with FPV drones. On the rest of the Sumy axis, all fighting has become positional, with neither side achieving significant territorial changes. And that is the news for today. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you next time.